Okay, so I don't think I've ever done one of these before where it's just me just talking, but this is one of my first ever story times. I attached one to a video a while back, and I noticed that one had a lot more views than the rest of them. So I'm going to try to start doing more story times with y'all. So I am in my Saint shirt because I just shot the Glamroom Gametime for this week, and I want to go back to last weekend. So last weekend, week 9, the Saints played the Atlanta Falcons. Now, every year, for those that are not from here or around here, the Falcons are like the biggest rivals we have. Like, we always go head to head with them because they're in our division. They're kind of just the city of Atlanta itself is kind of similar to New Orleans. So we always get put together, and that always, you know how that happens. It'll make you butt heads. So that's the game where the fans talk the most trash to each other. That's the game where the players talk the most trash to each other, which is actually my issue with the Falcons. There was a game a while back, and it was right after Katrina, and one of their players at the time, Roddy White, said a lot of stuff about New Orleans, stuff that was like personal, like the only reason the city is important is because of Katrina, like stuff like that. And it was really, really not the time for that mess. I also think, I could be wrong, but I think they were the team we played in that really, really big deal series game, the first one right after Hurricane Katrina. I'm pretty sure that we played the Falcons. I can't really remember, but I remember we won, and I remember everybody in my house just crying because we were still going through it. We don't live in New Orleans. I live like an hour and a half outside of New Orleans. I live in Lafayette. And so even though we weren't directly affected by Katrina, a lot of the evacuees came here, and the kids that were going to school over there started coming over to our college at UL, which is, I was in college at the time. Like, it was literally the first week of college. So it was a really big deal. And I mean, there was so much stuff going on that y'all don't know that did make it to the news. It was just a really hard time for everybody in this state. So that comeback game was such a big deal. And it was, anyway, so the joke, not what kind of the joke, I mean, it's kind of a joke, but kind of serious. I always say every single season, I can lose every game and be all right if I beat Atlanta. So this year we got the tickets for that game, and we got those tickets at the beginning of the year. Apparently, I didn't get them, actually. My dad got them, which is weird because I'm known as the ticket mistress as opposed to the ticket master. Like, I get tickets to everything for everybody. Which comes from my wrestling days. I wasn't to wrestling shows. And so he got the tickets, and then when Drew Brees got injured, our quarterback, and the stock kind of plummeted. And so he got the 3 tickets for like $800, which is, for me, is still steep, but whatever. And then when Teddy started showing out, it was like it climbed and climbed and climbed. And now at Gametime, the seats we paid $800 for, all 3 of us, were $2,000 a pop for the game at the Superdome. Girl. So this was the most important game. My parents actually went. Their first Saints game was the Falcons, but I never got to see that game happen. So this time I did. So let me start y'all off from the beginning. That morning, I was really, really sick the day before. The weather was changing up and down. My migraines were kicking like insanely. And the night before, I actually like said a little prayer and was like, God, just please. I pray every night, but I'm not super religious, but I still am very spiritual. Like, I pray every night. I'd call it like a prayer / meditation, but whatever, that's tough another time. And I was like, my family got to actually come out, which is weird because we didn't buy the tickets together. They bought theirs after we bought ours, and they wound up actually sitting in the row literally like right behind us. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So that morning, the game was at noon, and I remember I got up early, I got all my stuff together, and my godchild was at my mom's house. So we all kind of did like a big family sleepover that night. And so that way I didn't have to rush to get there early for the game. I would already be there. So I brought all my makeup and stuff to do it all in the car on the way over. And I don't know, I lost my Chanel powder brush. I have no idea where it is. Must be somewhere in the car, I'm assuming. And my mother is notoriously late to everything. Like, I don't know how she does it, but she winds up being late to everything. I kid you not. So my dad was kind of nervous because he's like super early to everything. So there was that going on. We hurry up, got ready, got to McDonald's, get some breakfast, left for the game. The ride was cool. Everything was good. But okay, so this happened too. It was supposed to be like 30 freaking degrees that day. it was like 80. I don't know what changed in the weather pattern that made that happen, but I'm traveling with this big, huge, colossal coat and a scarf and a hat. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll change by the time I get there. Get there, of course, it was still hot as I don't know what. I had like knee-high boots on and went. And for some reason this time, and we never usually have that issue. I don't know what happened, but we had to drive around for like almost an hour just looking for parking. And if you've never been to a Saints game, the city of New Orleans itself is very compact. Like, it's a big city with a lot of people, but it all revolves around certain places. Like the CBD, which is Central Business District, I think. Yeah, that's where Loyola and Poydras, the Superdome, the Smoothie King Center, that's all in that little area. And then you got like the French Quarter, which is like the famous Bourbon Street, Decatur's down there. That's where all the clubs are. That's like the spot. Like, it's so fun. But anyway, so the CBD was like all blocked up. There were tailgaters, people just walking over there. If you've never been to New Orleans, people don't seem to like let you know they're crossing the street. They will literally just walk in front of your car. So we finally get to park in the Hyatt Regency Tower because my family's got connections and everything. So whatever. So we get there. We have to park on the top of the building. So I have an extreme, I'm not even going to say fear. It is a straight up phobia of heights. Like, I can't park, like going up in an elevator is like, I have to lean against the wall. Like, I literally get weak with anxiety. Like, I got to lean against the wall and stuff. So we had to park on the top, which the rooftop, I could feel us going up and going up and going up. And I was like, I can't breathe. It's getting kind of weird here. So we get to the top and we park. We find a good spot. We get in. For the record, too, that was like $40 just to park. So we get to the top floor, and it was scary because, again, I have a fear of heights, but you could see the skyline perfectly from the top of the Hyatt Regency. Like, it was Hyatt Regency. You could see the Benson Tower. You could see the Superdome, the Smoothie King. It's like you have the perfect view of the skyline. Couldn't enjoy it yet, though, because I was freaking out. Get on the elevator, go down, walk to the thing. We're so familiar with that area now. It wasn't a big thing. We just went. But I will say this. All of these girls had this beautiful, glittery, beautiful jacket. It was like sequins, gold, and then it had black and white trim on the arms and at the bottom, and it was beautiful. So that's my last girl moment of the day before I really get into this. We get to the thing. We find our little gate. I say gate like it's an airport, but it's really a section number. We get there, and if you're not, let me say this again. If you haven't gone there, the rules and restrictions on what you can and can't bring in has been changed so many times now. Like for WrestleMania, which is the last time I went there, WrestleMania 34, I had put my credit card, my ID, and some money and my cell phone in my shoe because you could not bring anything in there. And I hope they don't see this and then start making us roll our socks down and everything. It was just like, it's so much stuff. I just didn't want to bring anything, just my phone. So that's what we did. Get there, walk to the thing. For some reason, and this is a running joke with my family and I cry every single time I go to the Superdome. Not a bad thing, just straight up happiness, because whatever it is that I'm going to, I always feel so blessed to get to go because, you know, the little me, the 10-year-old Marty, never thought she'd be able to go see the Saints play and much less do it 3 times. Same thing with WrestleMania. I went to WrestleMania and again, you know, 10-year-old me watching wrestling with my father was not aware that at some point I'd be able to bring my whole family out there and do the whole weekend once, much less do it 4 times. So I start crying. So my dad's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, whatever." So we get there. And if you notice, there's a distinction. My father is what I call my biological father, who's in my life and I'm close with and everything. So there's no shade to him, but I call my dad because he taught me how to drive. He took me to prom. You know, he carried me in and out of the hospital multiple times with these migraines. He's always the one that's there for me. So I call him my dad. So if you're noticing there's a distinction, that's what that is. So, so we get there, find our little gate. I can see in arenas when they have the curtains before you get to your section. Our section was called the Plaza level. It had a certain name. I can't remember. It was the something Plaza level. So I see the people going ahead of me, and I've been there so many times. I kind of know how the gates are. So I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, this is the section, let's go, this is it. And the security guard comes and she's like, I need to see your tickets. They don't print out stubs anymore. Apparently you can only do mobile tickets, which I hate because I love to have my ticket stubs. Like I have a stack like this big of ticket stubs that I'm planning to put on a bulletin board and kind of display just to show all the things I've been to. So the lady stops us. She's like, oh, right down there. And I said, yeah, I know. That's where I was going. People annoy me sometimes. So we start walking down. I think our row was like 15 or something. I thought it was like one at the top and then it goes down to 15. No, it's like 31 at the top. And then you walk all the way down to our seats. So we're walking and walking and walking and walking. And my dad's leaning over to see the row number on the side of the seats. And our seats were so low, you guys. Like we were like right behind the field goal. It was awesome. Fine. The game had already started by the time we got seated and everything. And I look behind me and all my aunts and uncles and my aunts and my uncles are behind us. And we hug it. It was just such a good day. It really was. Not gonna lie. It was a great day. So I sit down. I look behind me. My family's behind us. My mom's sitting on one side of me. My dad's sitting on the other side of me. What happens? I see Teddy Bridgewater warming up. And I see, I can't think of his first name, but Lutz, the guy that kicks. I see him practicing his kicking. And we are so close that I didn't have to look at the Tron to see what was happening. Like, I was so close, I could see everything right there. Start crying again. My dad's like giving me a hard time about it because this happened so many times. It was awesome. And so anyway, my dad keeps hitting me. He's like, are you okay? Are you okay? You're crying again. But what's funny about that, we made it to the Veterans Day game. So we had a special edition towel. And when you're in the plaza section, I thought, apparently it's the whole Superdome. They put a towel on each seat. And I have one from the last 2 games too. But this one said salute to service. Now, I have all my aunts and uncles that were behind me. They literally all served. So I believe they were all in the Army. My father was in the Air Force. My grandfather was in the Air Force. So needless to say, Veterans Day is a big deal to my family. So that was a tell for another time. And I don't want to start crying now because they kept showing the flag and everything that's going on in the world right now, especially in our country. Sometimes I get so angry that I forget that we're in the best country on earth. So it took me by surprise a little bit how emotional I actually was with the salute to service towel. And I don't know why I don't have it in my hand. I have a Saint shelf downstairs and I already put it on my Saint shelf. So we sit down and we're watching the game and we start to notice very quickly that Drew Brees is playing, Alvin Kamara is playing, everyone that was supposed to be injured was all in the game. So I'm like, okay, noticing slowly but surely that it's going to be a rough one. So they start doing the move, dim, chains. That's what they put every time you make a first down is move, D-E-M, dim, chains. And I knew that Matt Ryan, the Falcons quarterback, was out. I didn't realize he was going to play in that game, and he did, and it kind of just went all downhill from there. So it's field goals for us, no touchdowns. It's touchdown, field goal for them, like over and over and over again. Like, I was like, this ain't looking too hot. So we get to the second quarter. By this time, it was clear to everyone sitting around me, at least in our section, that the referees are morons. I mean, just idiots. It was horrible. Like, there were so many flags on the Saints and like hardly any flags on the Falcons. Now, I'm not saying that the Saints did everything right. I'm not. But I just know sitting there, there's no way that the Falcons only messed up 5 times and we messed up like 5,000 times. It was literally like a parade of flags. It was like, you get a flag, you get a flag. Everybody gets a flag on the home team, not on the Falcons. So we get to halftime again. We had made friends with the lady in front of us because my mom and I talked to everybody. And she was so cool. She welcomed us. She's like, oh, you're crying, baby. Let me help you. And my dad actually goes, I'm just glad you're crying and you don't have a nosebleed. The first game I went to, I had a major nosebleed because I was actually sick and didn't know it. That game was like 2 days after Christmas. And I was super duper sick and my nose was bleeding like crazy. Halftime comes and I'm like, okay, they're going to go catch their breath. Coach Payton's going to pump them up and we're going to come back out. They might let Drew play like one snap and then put Teddy Bridgewater in, since clearly it was clear to everyone that Drew Brees was not in the rhythm he should have been in. Now, it's not just him. He was overthrowing Michael Thomas. They threw flags on us like it was no tomorrow. So by halftime, I was like, okay, we're going to reset and we'll come back and we'll be fine. So, okay, here's what kept happening. Every time anything good would happen, like someone, I want to say it might have been Alvin Kamara, caught this ball like way across the thing. He catches the ball. We get our first touchdown. Flag on the play. Dude, it was like so bad. Every time something good would happen, we'd lose it because a flag was thrown. So they come back out and I'm noticing that literally nothing changed. If anything, everything got worse. So like we're all starting to realize Teddy Bridgewater been sitting there warming up the whole game. They never put him in. Drew Brees is a human too. He might have a bad day. He might be tired. He might need to take a nap. He might have a headache. Hell, I don't know. That's okay. We don't have a backup quarterback that's a mook, okay? And my dad always tells me I talk like I'm in a mob movie. So we don't have mook quarterbacks, right? We got Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater. They could be, leading any team in the league right now if they were the starting quarterback. So sit Drew down. Let him rest. Let him chill. We don't need to keep that. And I know that's not Drew's fault. Like, people in the stands were, like, going off on Drew because we're saying, like, he's showboating. He doesn't want to put Teddy in. It wasn't his call. That's the coach's call, who the quarterback is. And now, he could have insisted maybe. I don't know where we were sitting. I obviously couldn't hear all of that stuff going on. But so anyway, so it's halftime. Now they're up by, like, 10 points. And I'm sitting there like, oh, damn it. Okay, we're in the third quarter. The hell. They start calling them on tripping. They start calling us on pass interference, roughing the pass. I mean, everything you could possibly call, they were calling. It got to the point where we were sitting there and they would throw the flag and the referees would all go talk and we'd all be sitting there like, what the hell is going on? So they kept playing whatever the problem was on the Titantron over and over and over again. I'm calling it a Titantron. I don't actually know what it's called in the Superdome, but I always call them Titantrons from Raw. So we're looking at the Tron, and when it was the Falcons, like we were all sitting like this. And it would be flag, pass interference, or whatever it was, and it would be like defense. And it was the Falcons, and we were all like, yay! But every time we thought it was on them, it was on us. Like, it was such a shock when they would say the Falcons did something wrong. Like, it was crazy. So, anyway, our defensive line was bad because, like, everybody kept blaming Drew Brees, but they can't score points when you're on offense. It was Drew not being Drew that day for whatever reason. It was our offensive lineman not protecting him. He couldn't throw a ball anywhere because he was constantly having to do like this. He'd have to get out the pocket. He'd have to come. It was just because, again, every time he'd get the ball, they'd have to sit there. And our offensive linemen, I felt, weren't protecting him, like, at all. Like, and then on the other hand, you got Matt Ryan on the other side that his offensive line was bombed. That dude had so much time to throw a ball. It was insane. And our defensive line, I don't know what they were or weren't doing, but it just, nothing. He would have time to start with one play, stand there, look around, he could literally have gone back or looked at his thing in the middle of the game and looked at it and said, I guess I'll throw this now. That's how much time he had. It was crazy. So we get to the end of the game. We are down by like 20 something points. And I didn't notice the time. I'm sitting there. I was literally taking my phone out and going over and saying, okay, if they get 2 touchdowns and a field goal and make the 2 extra points, then we can win. Then the 2-minute warning came and I was like, I was like, come on, man, this is horrible. So they're going and going and going, and it was just like, and here's the killing thing. So I kept trying to figure out all these ways, and my family makes fun of me for that. Like, I'm always like, it's 16 seconds. I don't know why people are walking on the field. We could clearly make 6 touchdowns. I know. So then we get down to the last 2 seconds of the game when it's clear we're not going to win. 2 seconds left in the game, they throw a damn flag on us, y'all. 2 seconds? I can't even remember what the call was, but 2 seconds left in the game. So by the time they get there and they reline up, the game is over and we lost. And honestly, the fans in New Orleans didn't really seem to care. I mean, I was mad just because, again, I would have been mad if I watched it at home too, but literally it was like, oh, and I forgot to mention this. Let me go back a little bit. So the second quarter of the game, I don't know how this happens. They started a whole jazz band second line up at the top of our section. And I saw the guys sitting with their saxophone and everything. Like, I mean, no, that's a trombone, but a trombone. They were sitting there with the trombone, and I saw the guy standing with the drum. I thought it was for the band that was going to play at halftime, which was amazing, by the way. It was insane, the formations. But middle of the game, they start just a second line. And that is the thing about New Orleans that I will always love, that it's such a random, magical, beautiful place. So we're all leaving. There's a couple Falcons fans, jaw-jacking, and it's fine, whatever. And then we get back to the parking tower. We go up to the top floor, and I guess the sinking feeling of losing, all of a sudden I noticed how beautiful that city is. So this is like kind of a story time about the game, but also about just New Orleans in general. And I've always said if I left this city and went somewhere where there wasn't a beach, because I am like obsessed with the beach, so I would go anywhere with a beach first. Not the East Coast, not the upper East Coast type beach, but like Florida, Galveston, whatever. That city is just so special. It just was just like, I was sitting up there in the car because I don't know if y'all are aware, but again, like I said earlier, New Orleans fans just kind of walk across the street and it's like, it's your ass. If you hit me, it's on you. And we were sitting, so because the fans were blocking the exit to the Hyatt, we're sitting there and I'm looking around you could see, like I said, the top of the Superdome. You could see the Smoothie King Center. You could see the Benson Tower. And Tom Benson, the owner of the Saints, passed away. I think it was last year. So, and that's a good family. Like, they did so much for the city and own almost all the city. The wife owns the Saints still. And just sitting there while the sun was setting, it just really made me appreciate the city of New Orleans. We get a bad rep on the news and stuff. The crime is high, which, I mean, that's every city to an extent. Any city that's up there as far as population wise, that's how it is. But it's just such a beautiful place. I've made so many good memories there, and sitting there and looking at the Superdome, and again, just seeing the skyline and being that close to it, it was so picturesque, and it just really, really made me appreciate where I'm from. I have issues with the politics here. We are a very red state, and if y'all know me, I am super liberal. I just really don't care. But it just made me proud to be from here. That is a city like no other on this earth. And New Orleans. No matter what happens with the Saints, no matter what happens, we're so resilient, and we're really strong. That's it. It's just a strong city. A strong, beautiful city where I've made so many good memories from my 30th birthday, celebrating on Bourbon Street, and just so many concerts, so many events, and I love the city of New Orleans. So this is it started as a Saint story time, but it's kind of a story time, my love letter to New Orleans. Yeah, we lost, but it didn't really matter. Then we went eat at Sicily's, which is the bomb pizza place, and it was a good time. So all the craziness that happened this year and will happen still, it's days like that make me just really appreciate everything, So that's it. That's my story time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I guess I will see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching, and catch y'all next weekend. Bye.